Chosen one, how many times did you believe God had forgotten you? How many nights did you cry in silence, wondering if your prayers had vanished into nothing? But today carries a secret. Heaven never lost sight of you. September the 2nd has been set apart as proof. Proof that every tear was counted. Proof that every whisper of your heart was heard. Proof that the silence was never abandonment. It was preparation. You were not forgotten. You were protected. You were hidden for the right moment. And now heaven has chosen this day to prove it openly. This is not just another date. It is the day God Himself places His seal on you, saying, I never left you. I never abandoned you. I was always here. And now all will see that you are my living testimony. Prepare yourself, because this day will be remembered as the moment when every doubt broke and the truth stood unshakable. You were never forgotten. Chosen one, there are seasons in life when the silence of God feels unbearable. You pray, you wait, you pour out tears, and nothing seems to move. Days blur into weeks, months stack into years, and in the quietest moments, it almost feels as though heaven has turned its face away. How many times did you whisper in your heart, did God forget me? But here is the truth you must carry deep into your soul. God never forgets His chosen. Never. He is not like man, who promises and then fails to deliver, who remembers and then lets slip away. The Creator of the universe has never once lost track of your name, your pain, your story. And when the appointed time comes, He decides not only to act, but to prove it, to show you in ways that cannot be denied that you were never overlooked. This 2nd of September carries that proof. It is not just another Sunday, it is a prophetic marker, a divine reminder that the hidden season has not been wasted. God does not need to prove Himself to anyone. Yet because He knows the heaviness you carried, the questions you buried, the nights you thought you could not endure, He chooses to make it visible. I never left you. I never turned my back. I was always here. Perhaps you ask yourself, why so long? Why such a silence? The delay was never punishment. It was not neglect. It was preparation. Every moment of waiting was shaping you, strengthening you, aligning the stage so that when His hand moved, there would be no mistaking it. If the breakthrough had come earlier, you might have called it coincidence. But now, after so many tears and so much endurance, His intervention will be undeniable. The delay becomes the canvas on which His glory is painted. And think of this, not one tear went unseen. God collected them all, not to shame you, but to transform them into testimony. Not one prayer was wasted. Every cry in the night was recorded. Not one silent ache escaped His notice. He has been present in every hidden moment, even when your heart was too weary to believe. Today is the day heaven makes that truth tangible. You may feel it as a sudden peace that settles on you without explanation. You may encounter someone unexpectedly who brings the very words you needed to hear. You may see a door open in an area where you had already given up. These are not coincidences. They are signatures. God is marking this day to show you were never forgotten. And so I ask you, chosen one, will you see these proofs for what they are, or will you dismiss them as chance? Because the evidence is all around you, and the choice is yours, to treat it as common or to recognize it as holy. Heaven is whispering, open your eyes, pay attention. I am showing you now what I have known all along. This 2nd of September will not fade like an ordinary date. It will be remembered as the day God Himself tore through the doubt and declared in a way you could not miss. You were seen, you were heard, you were remembered. From this moment forward, the lie of abandonment loses its grip because the proof has arrived. You, chosen one, are not just waiting anymore. You are standing as a living testimony that God does not forget. And when He decides to prove it, no voice of doubt can argue, no darkness can overshadow, and no fear can erase what has been sealed in heaven and confirmed on earth. Chosen one of the hardest things to endure is the silence of heaven. You pour out prayers, you whisper desperate cries, you lift your hands in worship, and yet no sound comes back, no shift seems to happen. In those moments, silence feels like distance, and distance feels like abandonment. How many nights did you lie awake, convinced your voice was lost in the vastness, wondering if even God had turned away? But here is the truth. The silence was never absence. The silence was always an answer. It was never God forgetting you, it was God protecting you. Silence does not mean neglect. Silence means strategy. When heaven withholds a response, it is not because your words were ignored. It is because the time was not yet ripe, and the Father was shaping something bigger than your request could see. Think about it. If every prayer had been answered instantly, you would have settled for less than what was truly meant for you. If every cry had been met with immediate action, you would not have grown roots deep enough to withstand storms. Silence is not rejection, it is construction. In the silence, your faith was stretched, your endurance was built, your trust was purified. You were learning to believe not because you could feel, but because you knew. And in hindsight, can you not see how many times the silence saved you? The job you wanted so badly but did not get. Later, you learned it would have crushed you. The relationship that ended with no explanation. Now you see it would have derailed your purpose. The opportunity that seemed perfect but slipped away. Today you realize it was a trap disguised as blessing. Each silence was God saying, "Not this, not now. Trust me." Chosen one. Silence also sharpens the senses. When heaven does not speak loudly, you begin to notice the whispers. You pay attention to subtle signs, the dream that lingers in your mind, the verse that comes alive on a page, the sudden shift in atmosphere when you pray. In silence, you become sensitive. You begin to discern God in the details and not just in the obvious. That is the training ground of the chosen, to recognize the presence of the Father even when He seems hidden. And now, on this 2nd of September, God pulls back the veil and reveals what the silence really was. His greatest protection, His deepest preparation, His most loving response. The tears you thought went unanswered were watering the soil of your destiny. The prayers you believed were lost were echoing in heaven, waiting for the appointed time. The silence was never a void. It was a womb. And what grows in the womb cannot be rushed, for it must be formed perfectly before it is revealed. So I ask you, how many times did you curse the silence, when it was in fact the very thing keeping you safe? How many times did you mistake God's hiddenness for abandonment when He was actually standing closer than your breath, shielding you from battles you did not see? The silence has always been love in disguise. This 2nd of September will be remembered as the day you realized that even when heaven was quiet, you were not forgotten. You were being refined, strengthened, and guarded. And now the proof comes, not to erase the silence, but to give it meaning. You will look back and say, even in the silence, he was answering me. Even when I heard nothing, he was preparing everything. The silence is over, but its lessons remain. And they will carry you into this new season with a faith unshakable, because you now know silence was never abandonment. Silence was always an answer. Chosen one, the enemy's cruelest lie has always been this, that God turned his face away from you, that your struggles were invisible, that your prayers went unheard. It is a whisper that comes in the darkest nights, telling you that you are forgotten, overlooked, abandoned. But if you pause and look closer, you will see that all along, heaven was watching you. And on this 2nd of September, God is pulling back the veil so that you can recognize the signs that prove it. Think back to the moments that seemed random but changed everything. That unexpected delay that kept you from being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The door that refused to open, which only later you realized would have led to heartbreak or disaster. The sudden encounter with someone who gave you strength without even knowing your story. These were not coincidences. They were interventions. The Father's eyes were on you the whole time, guiding, redirecting, and shielding you. Consider the peace that settled over you in moments when everything around you was chaos. That calm that had no reason to exist in the middle of storms. It was not your own strength, it was God proving he was watching. Remember the way a scripture verse leapt off the page just when you needed it most, or how a simple song seemed to carry heaven's whisper directly into your heart. These were not accidents. These were signals. Each one was heaven reminding you, I see you, I hear you, I have not forgotten you. Even your body has carried signs of his attention. The sudden shiver when you prayed, the warmth in your chest when you felt his presence draw near, the dreams that lingered in your memory, filled with symbols you could not explain, but that spoke louder than words. The nights when you woke up sensing you were not alone, when an unseen presence wrapped around you like a blanket of protection. All of these were proof that you were being observed, guarded, loved. And what about those inner nudges you could not explain? That feeling to wait when everyone else was rushing. That intuition that told you to step back from a person or situation you later discovered was harmful. That small inner voice whispering, not yet, or turn here, at just the right time. Those were not your thoughts. They were heaven's guidance. They were the Spirit keeping you aligned with the plan when you couldn't see the bigger picture. Chosen one, the signs were always there, but pain has a way of blinding us. In your sorrow, you might have dismissed them as luck or imagination. In your exhaustion, you may have called them coincidences. But now God is showing you that every one of those details was his hand at work. He never stopped watching. He never took his eyes off of you. This 2nd of September is the day you are called to reinterpret your story. The delays that frustrated you were actually protection. The endings that broke your heart were redirections. The people who left made space for better ones to arrive. The doors that closed set the stage for the right ones to open. Looking back with spiritual eyes, you will see that you were never forgotten, not for a moment. So I ask you now, How many times did you overlook the fingerprints of God because you expected fireworks, when in reality, He was showing Himself in whispers? How many times did you beg for proof, not realizing you were surrounded by it? Today, the Father says, pay attention. The signs were always there. I never stopped watching you. This Sunday is unforgettable because it shatters the lie of abandonment. The signs, both small and great, rise as witnesses against every voice that told you that you were alone. From this day forward, let every memory of divine intervention become your anchor. You will walk with the certainty that heaven has always been watching, and that you were never, ever forgotten. Chosen one, when God decides to prove that you were never forgotten, this revelation does not remain in the realm of thought alone. It enters your body. It flows through your emotions. It becomes a reality that you don't just know, you feel. Because when heaven remembers you openly, your entire being responds to that touch. And today, on this 2nd of September, the proof of divine remembrance will echo not only in your spirit, but in your flesh and soul. Your body is not separate from the spiritual. It has always been the temple, the vessel through which God chooses to manifest His presence. This is why, when His remembrance comes, physical signs often follow. Some will feel waves of peace moving through their chest, like a burden is finally being lifted. Others may experience chills running across their skin in moments of prayer, or a warmth in their hands, as though the fire rests upon them. Some will find themselves yawning, trembling lightly, or releasing tears that feel like a deep cleansing. These are not random sensations. They are the body's agreement with heaven's reminder. You were never forgotten. And think about your sleep. For many, divine remembrance shows itself in dreams. Nights of restless tossing are replaced by a deep rest, filled with vivid images that speak louder than words. These are not just dreams. They are encounters, coded messages reminding you that the Father has been watching all along. Others may experience sudden awakenings in the middle of the night, not with fear, but with an awareness of His nearness, as though He Himself shook you gently to whisper, I am here. Even the rhythms of appetite and energy can shift. When the Spirit moves, your body sometimes longs for stillness, for water, for simplicity. Not because of ritual, but because the vessel instinctively prepares itself to carry more. A lighter body allows a deeper sensitivity. These changes may surprise you, but they are signals that heaven is not just speaking, it is aligning you. And then there is the soul, the seat of your emotions. When God reminds you that you were never forgotten, emotions you thought were buried often rise to the surface. Tears may come, not as despair, but as release, a breaking of years of silence in one stream of healing. Joy may well up unexpectedly, a lightness in the heart that feels almost foreign after so much heaviness. Sometimes even grief reappears, but this time not as a chain, rather as a memory being reframed under God's care. Old wounds lose their sting as His remembrance redefines them. What once testified of abandonment now speaks of preservation. The soul knows how to respond. When heaven leans close, anxiety begins to quiet, doubt loses its grip, shame softens and fades, and in its place, a steady assurance rises. You were never overlooked, and you will never be left behind. That assurance is not manufactured by your willpower. It is breathed into you by the Spirit who remembers you more deeply than you remember yourself. Chosen one, your body and your soul cannot remain neutral under divine remembrance. They react because remembrance is tangible. It is not only a thought to meditate on, but a truth that courses through your veins, that fills your lungs, that resonates in your heartbeat. This is why even skeptics cannot deny when God touches someone deeply. The evidence is visible, undeniable, unexplainable, except through Him. So do not ignore what you feel in these hours. Do not dismiss the tears, the sudden strength, the unusual calm. Each response is a witness. Each sensation is a testimony. Your flesh and your soul are echoing the same message that your spirit has always known. You are never forgotten. You are remembered. You are loved. This 2nd of September will mark you because it will leave proof within you. Not just in your thoughts, but in your very body and soul. And when doubts try to creep back in, when the enemy whispers again that you are overlooked, you will recall this day. The peace in your chest, the clarity in your mind, the tears that cleansed, the rest that renewed you. All of it will rise as undeniable evidence that God has remembered you and that His remembrance has changed you from the inside out. Chosen one, when God proves that you are never forgotten, the evidence does not remain locked inside your private world. It begins there, in your body, your soul, your prayers, but soon it overflows. What heaven does in secret always finds its way into the open, because the testimony of the chosen is not for themselves alone. It is for the world to see, so that even those who never believed will have no choice but to notice. God has remembered you. How many times did you cry out in the hidden place, "Lord, if you see me, let someone notice. Let there be proof." Yet for so long, nothing seemed to change. People around you judged by appearances. They saw the struggle, but not the process. They mistook your waiting as failure, your pain as defeat, your silence as weakness. And perhaps you felt invisible even to those closest to you. But all along, heaven was writing a story. And on this 2nd of September, God declares that the story will not remain concealed. It will shine as testimony before the eyes of many. Testimony is not only spoken in words, it is written on your very life. A face once weary now carries peace. Shoulders once bowed under heaviness now rise in strength. A heart once locked in fear begins to love with freedom again. These transformations cannot be faked, and they cannot be denied. They are living proof that the hand of God has touched you. Even those who doubted you, even those who mocked your faith, will have to pause and ask, what happened? What changed? And the answer will be simple. God remembered. Chosen one, do not be surprised if people around you begin to notice without you saying a word. Some will remark on your lightness. Others, on the way your words now carry unusual weight, as though backed by something greater than yourself. This is the effect of testimony. You don't need to strive to convince anyone. When God marks you, the evidence is undeniable. Your presence itself becomes a message. And testimony has a purpose far greater than recognition. It is meant to point others to the same God who lifted you, and your life becomes a living letter, read by all who come near. For those who feel forgotten, you become a sign that says, He remembers, He sees, He does not abandon. For those who doubt whether their prayers are heard, your story whispers to them, keep going. It is not too late. He is faithful. The chosen are never marked for themselves alone. They are marked so that others may find hope through them. This is why the silence had to be long. This is why the waiting had to test you so deeply. Because when the testimony finally appears, it is not small, it is undeniable. If God had acted earlier, the world could have dismissed it as chance. But now, after all you endured, the shift will be so clear that people will have no explanation except Him. And so I ask you, will you hide this testimony, or will you let it shine? Will you shrink back into the shadows, or will you stand in the light of what God has done? Because your story is not meant to remain private, it is meant to be a witness, a declaration, a living example of divine faithfulness. The 2nd of September is unforgettable because it is the day when the proof within you becomes the testimony around you. The world will not only hear that God never forgot you, they will see it. And through your life, many will realize that they, too, are remembered. Chosen one, not every day carries the same weight in heaven. Some days come and go like ordinary markers of time, while others are written as thresholds, moments that divide your story into before and after. This 2nd of September is such a day. It is not just another page on the calendar. It is a dividing line drawn by the hand of God. The moment when the lie of abandonment breaks and the truth of divine remembrance takes its place forever. A dividing line is more than a shift in circumstances. It is a shift in identity. Until now, you may have carried the label of the forgotten, the overlooked, the one left waiting while others moved ahead. You may have even spoken over yourself, words of despair. Maybe my time has passed. Maybe I was never chosen after all. But when God marks a dividing line, those identities are stripped away. From this day forward, you will no longer be known by what you lacked, but by the faithfulness that found you. Look at the river. Before the line, it flows one way. After the line, the course changes completely. That is what this day represents. The sorrow, the confusion, the silence that marked yesterday belong to the before. The proof, the testimony, the peace you carry now belong to the after. And once God changes the course, it cannot be reversed. The waters do not flow backward. Think of the waiting you endured. Every unanswered prayer felt like proof that nothing was happening. But today reveals what was really taking place. The waiting was building your roots so that when the flood of fulfillment came, you would not be swept away. This dividing line proves that not one moment of waiting was wasted. All of it becomes part of the testimony you now embody. And this line is not only personal, it reverberates into the spaces around you. Relationships will feel it. Circumstances will shift. Opportunities will unfold. People who once overlooked you will see you differently. This is not pride, but it is the natural effect of being remembered by heaven. The world cannot treat you the same when God Himself has marked you. Chosen one, do not take this lightly. Dividing lines are sacred. They demand that you let go of what belongs to the before. Old fears cannot cross this line. Old shame cannot survive it. Old lies lose their power here. To carry them forward would be to dishonor what God has declared. The line has been drawn. It is time to step fully into the after. And so I ask you, will you dare to believe that this day is not ordinary? Will you allow yourself to walk as someone changed, someone sealed, someone who has crossed from silence into testimony? Or will you try to keep living as if nothing shifted, even while heaven is declaring otherwise? The choice is yours, but the line has already been drawn. The 2nd of September will not fade into memory like any other Sunday. It will remain etched into your story as the day the river turned, the day the silence broke, the day the proof arrived. You will look back months and years from now and know, that was the day my story changed. That was the day I crossed the line. From this moment on, your life is divided into 2 parts: the time you thought you were forgotten, and the time you knew beyond doubt that you were always remembered. And the second part begins now. Chosen one. The 2nd of September is not just a date you will remember. It is a seal you will carry for the rest of your life. Days come and go, but this one was written into eternity, destined to mark you in a way no circumstance, no person, no voice of doubt can erase. This is not simply the day God whispered reassurance. This is the day He proved beyond question that you were never forgotten. And when God Himself proves, His mark remains forever. What does it mean to be marked by heaven? It means that your identity shifts from uncertain to undeniable. You are no longer the one who wonders if God has seen you. You are no longer the one who questions whether your prayers matter. You are no longer the one who fears you are overlooked. From this moment forward, you are the living testimony that God remembers, that He guards, that He fulfills in His time. That mark is invisible to human eyes, but unmistakable in your spirit. You will carry it in your peace, in your resilience, in your hope that refuses to die. The enemy worked hard to convince you otherwise. Every delay, every silence, every disappointment was twisted into a lie that you were abandoned. But today, that lie collapses. The proof of God's remembrance is not an idea. It is a reality that has touched your body, moved your soul, reshaped your perspective, and redefined your path. You cannot walk away unchanged. You cannot return to the way things were before. This day has branded you with the truth. You are known, you are loved, you are remembered. And this mark is not for you alone. Testimony is never private. What God imprints on your life radiates outward. Those around you will see something different in your eyes, in the way you carry yourself, in the atmosphere you bring into a room. They may not understand the depth of what happened, but they will sense it. They will ask. They will notice. And through your life, heaven's remembrance will become visible to others who still feel forgotten. Your story will stand as an unspoken invitation. If He remembered me, He will remember you. Chosen one, this day becomes a dividing line not just in your history, but in your destiny. The before was filled with silence, waiting, and questions. The after is filled with proof, presence, and testimony. And as you move forward, every time doubt tries to creep back in, you will remember this day. You will remember the tears that felt like release, the peace that settled without explanation, the clarity that entered your heart. These memories will rise as evidence louder than any accusation. They will remind you you are forever marked. So now I ask you, will you walk as someone branded by heaven? Will you live as a carrier of proof rather than a seeker of it? Will you let this mark define you instead of the lies that once chained you? The choice is no longer about whether you are remembered. That has already been proven. The choice is whether you will embrace it fully and step into the destiny written for you. This 2nd of September will echo in your story as the day God's remembrance became undeniable. From here on, your life is not defined by waiting for evidence. You are the evidence. You are the living seal of divine faithfulness. Forever marked, forever remembered, forever chosen.